The Doomsday Sanction is when the background Cadmus story that's been cropping up here and there now takes the center stage for the majority of Season 2. Thus, we join the show with Amanda Waller in her carefully guarded home catching up on the night's events. There's a volcano erupting that the JLU is going to try to do something with. Evacuating mostly. I don't think the Knight on the Flying Horse can do much to stop the forces of the Earth.
Closer to home, the political world is still reeling from Lex Luthor's surprise announcement of his candidacy for President of the United States. Overnight polling among likely voters shows Luthor to be within striking distance of both major party candidates.
Well, that's just comic book stuff. No way a controversial rich businessman who loves naming things after himself is going to have a serious shot at becoming president. But Waller is the issue here, and as she's coming out of the shower, she comes face to face with Batman. This is bringing the game to the next level. Waller knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne and could use that information to make his life utter hell. Oh, sure, she could do something as mundane as telling the world that secret, but think about all the ways that somebody who's connected with the government and willing to do anything could really screw with one individual's life. Keep them tied up in court, leak false information about them. The possibilities are endless. I mean, you saw that jet that Batman lost in our last review. How long could Batman keep one of those things fueled and armed? Never mind repair or replace one if, say, all his assets were frozen, his company was being audited, and, oh yeah, there's an antitrust case on it too. We might be breaking that company up. Oh, and just for the cherry on top, Bruce Wayne is accused of habitually sleeping with underage girls. Yeah, Batman would have some problems, wouldn't he? But take a look at how Batman has chosen to approach her. Not in the night as he normally prefers to operate, but in the daylight. Not the shadows, but out in the open. This isn't an intimidation here. This is placing their cards on the table. The biggest being why Cadmus is so opposed to the Justice League. Aren't they after the same thing? So she says that the price for Luthor's pardon was the full story of what was going on. So Superman told the president all about the parallel universe with the Justice Lords. Now, if you missed that two-parter, it's the one where in another reality Luthor was president. He went too far this time, though, and Superman responded by finally killing him. The first step in our heroes becoming the Justice Lords and taking over the world in order to protect it, turning it into a safe but fascist state. Based on that, the government ran simulations of what would happen if the Justice League ever went rogue. And the result was that in every situation, the League creamed them. Cadmus was formed then to try to balance the scales.
You've got a spaceship floating over our heads with a laser weapon pointing down. In another dimension, 7 of you overthrew the government and assassinated the president. We're the good guys, protecting our country from a very real threat. You.
I dropped your toothbrush in the toilet, so I win. Batman calls a meeting of the original 7 members who were involved in the Justice Lords event and asks, what exactly is there to stop that from happening again only here?
Me. Those guys went overboard because their Flash died. So as long as you all focus on keeping me alive, that'll never happen here.
Truth hurts, don't it? At the same time, this is intercut with meetings at Cadmus, where we see the same general from that business with the replicating machines as part of the team. And that Galatea and the Ultimates, they were both their work. Dr. Milo is there too. He's the one that looks kind of like Brent Spiner with Mo Howard's hair. Dr. Milo appeared in 2 episodes of Batman the Animated Series, and it seems he's continued work along those lines, but that is accomplished precisely Dick, so Waller finally cans him. See, if you'd made guns like that, then you'd still have a job, Milo. On his way out, he stops in a nearby room where we discover Doomsday, who had also appeared in that episode and was lobotomized by Justice Lord Superman. In that episode, it's implied that Doomsday was from another planet, much like his comic book counterpart. The one that famously had killed Superman back in the 90s, when DC really needed some attention. Dr. Milo says that in this reality, Doomsday was created from Superman's genetic material, but made to be his superior, although certainly not in looks, and was conditioned to hate Superman with images and torture.
When you became uncontrollable, they tried to dispose of you. They put you in a rocket and shot you into space.
where they plan to further torment you with cheesy movies. While he was being launched, Doomsday's struggles knocked the rocket off course, and in burning up in the atmosphere, it looked like a crashing asteroid. Now, what Dr. Milo is saying does not fit. Waller just said the whole thing with the Justice Lords was the impetus for all of this. But this would naturally predate that event, so either she was lying, which wouldn't be a surprise, Dr. Milo's lying, which wouldn't be a surprise either, or Doomsday is a time traveler. Dr. Milo figures that, now that he knows the truth, Doomsday will destroy Cadmus and he'll get his revenge. Instead, though, Doomsday opts for killing him and then leaves, planning to go find and kill Superman. Gotta give him credit. Doomsday doesn't aim low, does he? I mean, if I had to pick a nemesis to go out and kill, I would probably pick somebody with like a bad leg and an eye patch. While the Justice League is helping with the evacuation, except for the Flash, whose job it is to carry messages around the island, and Superman, because when you're Superman and a volcano's the problem, you try to take a more direct, hands-on approach to it and leave carrying children to the third-string members of the team. He tries to find a way to ease the pressure of all these tectonic forces, but you know what probably won't help? An evil genetic abomination of yourself. I mean, that's Geology 101 right there. Doomsday quickly gets down to business and starts roughing Supes up until he's finally knocked down long enough for Superman to explain he was not the one who lobotomized him. But Doomsday isn't interested in any of the multiverse theory of existence. Superman is Superman. That's what counts. The last thing your mindless vendetta needs is nuance. Well, Waller flips her shit at the news of what's happened and tells General Eiling, that's the guy who is from the Replicant episode, they need to sort this thing out. If Doomsday kills Superman, he might decide to murder his way across the planet afterwards, kind of like, an evil victory lap. At least right now they know where he is, so now is the time to stop him. So, being instructed to do something, Eiling gives the order. Deliver the package.
Target locked. Package is ready.
Deliver the package.
Hi, special delivery for you. Mrs. Wilson?
Yeah, the things I do for a lame gag. I had to go through 3 pages of links to get a delivery clip I could use, which wouldn't be so bad except half of them were gay porn videos. Speaking of feeling inadequate, here's 2 heroes attempting a rescue. Well, you were definitely faster, Flash, in your rescue of a very small child. Up in the watchtower as Batman and John monitor the rescue, they detect the package, a nuclear missile with kryptonite in the warhead. It goes unstated, but the likely idea is that the kryptonite would scatter with the explosion, weakening Superman enough for the blast to finish him. And since Doomsday is based upon Superman's genes, he should die too. Hopefully. Of course, losing Supes and the island they're trying to evacuate isn't an option for the Justice League, so Batman calls up Waller to tell her to call this thing off. But she refuses to give even an inch on this, and then hangs up to figure out what the hell that was all about. Batman could tell she's bluffing, though, so he grabs another craft and drops from orbit to intercept the missile, because it turns out...
Call it off.
Anti-abort safeties have already engaged. I couldn't stop it now if I wanted to.
Now, I don't claim to be a military expert, but the phrase, "there is no possible way to turn off this nuclear bomb," is not something I associate with the word safety. Eiling figures out that it'll take those 2 threats out and eliminate the drug smugglers coming through that island. And that's why we never won the war on drugs, We didn't use enough nuclear missiles. But it's back to the main event now, and since last time we got to have close-ups of a tiny man riding in Wonder Woman's cleavage, well, this time we get big shirtless Superman. Drink him up. Meanwhile, John is filling Wonder Woman in on the situation. "Dost thou require my aid against yonder catapult, Sir John the Green?" Wonder Woman heads off to go find Superman, while Batman is left with no choice to stop the missile, except for using the plane itself to latch on and point it out away from the island. This works, but Batman gets an ass-kicking and a nasty tsunami hits the island, but at least nobody's dead. Well, not yet anyway. Desperate now, Superman finally repeats the same trick his Justice Lord counterpart did and goes for the laser vision lobotomy. Only, it doesn't work. Doomsday's skull grew back thicker than before, so Supes has to settle for tossing Doomsday into the volcano. That took everything out of him, though, but Wonder Woman swoops in and saves his ass. So that's what it's like to be on the other end of one of those things. Once he's properly encased, they bring Doomsday back to the Watchtower, because what better place for an unstoppable force of destruction than a pressurized space station? They try questioning him and even telepathically probing his mind, but they get nothing out of Doomsday, so Supes finally sends him into the Phantom Zone so he doesn't have to deal with this monster anymore. Batman, though, isn't taking any of this well, comparing Superman to the Justice Lords in the way he passes judgment from his orbiting Death Ray-equipped satellite and with his own private army. Batman seems to be mollified, but there's a reason why he's been the one that's been struggling with this so much. As we saw in the Justice Lords episode, Batman is the one that most straddles the line. He was the only one of them who saw his counterpart's point of view, and whose counterpart saw his own point of view. In other words, he's the one who needs the smallest step in order to cross that line. And so he's all the more concerned when he sees anyone take a step towards that line. Batman is the one who is most sympathetic to the concerns of Cadmus because of them all, he's the only one who didn't look at his or her counterpart and say to themselves, "That's not me, I'd never do that." And thus aren't vigilant against the possibility that one day they will be willing to take that step too far, and no one will be there to stop them. And even when they take that final step, they won't believe they've changed at all.
Don't have to worry about the Justice League. Trust me. You know me.
Yeah, I do.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
Great. You have those boxes I can take a look at? I gotta get going. I'm